Here we go.
Woo!
Yeehaw!
El Mariachi Loco. Good morning, everyone. I am back. If you thought I wasn't coming back, you were wrong. Here I am again at Coffee and Pan Dulce at Cano's house. Woohoo!
Casa
Why
de
don't we?
Cano.
Yes, Casa de Cano. The Spanish speaking now. It's hitting him now. Why don't we welcome our third ghost? Her co-host.
Our ghost of a host.
I don't know.
Already?
This Turkish coffee has something to do with it. Let's welcome Christian. Come on in. And your buddy.
The master of that.
I don't want to welcome that buddy, but
It is so great to see you back.
yay! I'm a newly granny.
Grandma, yay! So, have you decided what you want to be called? What?
They decide. No. I'm Mommy Ruth.
Oh, Mommy Ruth.
Yes,
Oh,
I've been Mommy Ruth for
bad.
Matthew and hopefully for Jelani.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, that's
I get to
that's
sleep
a
with
good
her
name.
sometimes.
My grandmother on my mom's side was Mommy Rosie,
Oh.
and then on my dad's side was Grandma.
Well,
So-
my kids called them Mama forever since
Oh,
they're.
wow.
They called me Mommy
Yeah.
and they call Mom
I wonder if
Mama.
it's a Texas thing.
I guess so.
I think
Mama,
it
Mama,
is.
Mama.
A lot of nicknames.
Yeah.
I mean, my grandmother went. I had one grandmother
Meemaw.
with my nickname, Meemaw,
Yeah.
All
things
those.
like that.
Yeah.
Now I would
Yeah.
love to be called Gigi or something more spectacular.
It's funny, my American grandparents that were born and raised here in Texas did use the nicknames and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but my immigrant grandparents did not.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
wow.
They used, it was a grandma and a grandpa. And
That was
yeah,
it?
I mean,
No
yeah.
Papa, no Mom.
Yeah, wow.
You didn't use
Well-
any.
Well, my
But I
grandma
think
would. Go ahead.
I think Texans in general use a lot of nicknames and
We do.
or initials too. You know,
Yeah.
like they'll go BL or JR. I think it's something about the culture. I
Something,
don't know.
but we don't really use the original word, which is abuela. If
Yes.
you call abuela to a grandma,
Yeah, they'll
they
be angry.
yes,
Yeah,
they'll be
that's-
mad.
that's-
Well, I think
there
it's because
are-
it makes them sound old.
I think
that's
so.
right, that's
Yep.
right. Well, listen, welcome to Coffee and Pondusa, the Grandma Edition. So we want to welcome you who are watching us on Facebook Live.
But you didn't ask me what my grandma.
Yes, what
was
did your
called.
grandma call you?
She
Or what'd you
was,
call
I
you?
was gonna ask him if he's a grandpa yet.
She was
Survivor.
She was called number 14. She was on FBI's most wanted list.
Oh, that's why you're so concerned about Julian Assad. Let's turn the music off. Let's start the show. Welcome to Coffee and Pondusa. I'm Christian Cano. Today is October the 16th.
Oh my
It continues
god.
to be our first full week of semi-nice weather. It's raining today, which we needed desperately here in
No
the
way.
Charlotte
It's
area.
beautiful out there. It's sunny. It's warm.
That's right.
It's beautiful.
Well, it's the fall, so we need this kind of weather.
Yeah.
Let's turn the electronics off. Alexa, stop. Excellent. I like that song,
She
by the
can
way.
stop.
So, welcome to those who are watching us on Facebook Live, and also those who are going to be watching us later on YouTube.
Yep.
Many people do. I need to tell y'all, and I think I mentioned this to you, our Stony Rushing show that was 3
Mhm.
weeks ago, I believe, passed the Moms Dem in Action. It's almost gotten 5,000 viewers.
Yes, wow.
Wow.
And 2,500 of those actually saw the entire show.
Wow.
So, like most people, they watch us later. So,
Right.
Yeah.
welcome to Coffee and Pondusa. I'm Christian Cano. We have a wonderful guest here today who's going to talk about the Turkish Festival of Charlotte that's happening this weekend. And we've got some great things we're going to talk about. But before we do that, so we can share the show, let's go around the table. Tell us who you are, the button that you have, if you have one. If you don't, your imaginary button, so that allows us to share the show. So we'll start on our right, because she's always second to the right. She's right. All right, there we go.
I'm always right. Hi, I'm Jenny Gunn, and my buttons are the National Organization of Women, which I'm a board member. Tara Long, of course, because she's one of my besties, and she's amazing, and she did a great job last night.
Woo-hoo.
And of course, I'm always wearing, when I come on the show, it's been a tradition to wear my orange pleather pants and my blue shirt for Jennifer De La Hora please vote for her. Vote early, vote often. Early voting has already started, so.
Sure.
So
I like that.
But yeah, I mean,
Democrat.
she is a very compassionate person and somebody we need, and she has educational experience. So thank you.
Now that you say Jennifer Lahara, and I know she's going to be running for North Carolina Board of Education, we need more voices like her.
Well, she's CMS board. So
Yeah,
she's
but
running for
still,
CMS board. and
CMS, we
we
need
need it here.
education boards,
Yes.
voices out there.
knowledgeable,
Yes.
compassionate ones,
That
and,
will
and
do
she's
that.
both.
So who are you?
I am a I'm
Grandma,
Ruth.
Grandma Ruth?
I was going to say Grandma
I'm a
Ruth.
secretary.
I'm in that bubble.
Sounds like
She's
a
only been
sounds
2
like a cookie
weeks.
company. It sounds like you should be baking cookies.
Listen, I
I'll
should
do
be
it.
throwing a party every single day.
Yes.
I don't have no sisters, no daughters. This is our first female in our family.
Oh,
Wow.
So
yeah.
I am so,
Wow.
I don't know, I'm still in the bubble.
Okay,
Don't
so
pop it. Ruth Perez, community advocate. I'm back to the route again, to the community. And today my imaginary button is, it's like always, gun sense. And, we had 2 murders this past Sunday.
2 more, yeah.
And it's very saddened because, we're losing our teenagers. I mean, this was a 16-year-old, so we definitely need to do something more
And
in our
there's
city.
spaces that are normally safe that have
Yes.
just become
Gun
unsafe.
sense.
My name's Jeff Scott. I'm a man about town, man about the world, actually, drinking this wonderful Turkish coffee.
It's actually pretty dang good.
Yeah. So
Don't you know that? Because you're gonna.
I'm between candidacies, I guess, but I'll tell you where I'm going to be later in the week at the end of the show.
Excellent. And we do have a wonderful special guest. She's here with us. She's our neighbor from here in Mecklenburg County in Charlotte. And she's going to be here to talk about the Turkish Festival of Charlotte. And so tell us who you are, and then we'll talk about that festival after we salute and all that kind of stuff.
Sure. My name is Perry, and I've actually worked for some campaigns here in Charlotte and also in other places in North Carolina. And I'm on the board of 2 different organizations here in Charlotte, and one of them is Carolina's Hierarchy of Needs. And we represent Housing First philosophy.
Yay.
And we have some care homes actually in North Carolina, and we're trying to get them up and running, and we're also kind of volunteering in concession stands in Bank of America stadium events.
Oh,
So-
excellent. Excellent. Well, that's
Awesome.
wonderful.
That's
It's so great to have you. And I want to let everyone know that we are going to be talking about the Turkish Festival of Charlotte. But we were going to originally talk about the Syrian crisis. But we've made a decision to delay that because you were, in case those who follow us, we have a new show that happens 15 minutes after this show the first and the third Wednesday of the month. And it is Jenny's
Not
show.
today.
We canceled it today. It's Jenny's show, and she moderates a debate about a specific issue. And we've had 2 of those, and Jeff is always the pro or the con. We don't really know.
He's more the con
He's
than the
always
pro.
in it.
And,
I'm a pro-con.
and we were going to talk about the Syrian
He's a politician.
issue, but we made a decision to let's not talk about that so we can save it for the next show because
Right.
we delayed it another week. But we do have a lot of exciting things to talk about, like the arts funding, and I've got a little thing I'd like to just briefly talk about.
And just to shout out there, Tara, we still miss you.
Yes, Tara.
It don't matter. This house is always full.
Barbara, we
love
miss
to
you,
have
Tara.
you here. And Barbara.
Tara's been incredibly busy with the wage garnishment thing, which is really thank her for doing that. We had a show all about that, and today, if you pick up the Charlotte Observer, there was a story about that, and so everyone, if you do subscribe to the Charlotte Observer, please read that. So we're going to get started, and we have a first here. This is our 44th show, and this is the first time we've actually had different coffee. And if you'll tell us what we're going to toast to Turkish coffee. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so please tell us what this is so people understand what we're doing.
Sure. Do you want me to talk about the festival?
No, about the coffee first.
About the coffee.
This is Turkish coffee?
Yes, this is
Okay.
Turkish coffee, and basically it's like very fresh ground coffee
Okay.
that you have, and you put we use like a jezve, what's
Mhm.
called a jezve, and it's like the oldest a method of making coffee.
Oh,
And,
okay.
It's on a stovetop.
It's like
Right.
a copper.
Mhm.
A copper pan. you put on.
Pan, yes,
Right.
you put in and you put like maybe 1 cup like this
Mhm.
of water and then like a tablespoon of coffee
Mm-hmm.
and you put sugar or maybe not, and if you don't like too much coffee you
Mhm.
put less coffee
Mm-hmm.
and you just kind of mix it up a little bit
Okay.
and then you just boil it, but before it has to boil slowly.
Sure.
So it'll rise up a little bit, so
Okay.
you have to turn it off really fast and then just pour it, and you have to drink water with it.
Well,
Is it a very fine grind?
Yes.
Yes.
That was
Very
gonna be
fine
my
grind.
next question.
Yes, yeah.
So this looks really strong. And
Yes.
so I think
It
all of
is.
us who have tried Cuban coffee, that's kind of
Oh, yeah.
It looks like it, yeah.
Yeah, and or I don't know what they call it, the coffee de leche or something. That's what they call
Con
it.
leche.
Something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
café
So
con leche.
we're gonna salute to Turkish coffee today in honor of the Turkish festival. So be just very careful because this
Yes.
is close to the rim. Salute. Ching.
Ching
These are sweet little
ching.
cups. Ching, ching.
Yeah,
There we go.
It's so adorable
All right,
until
so
you
everyone, let's
spill it
taste
on
it.
the laptop.
It's not my laptop.
That's good.
And you usually have like a Turkish delight.
Yes,
right
you
next
you
to
you
it.
you added these. Is this like a pastry or what is actually? Is it
Like
a
a
cookie?
dried fruit or
It's
dry
kind of like
flour.
gelatin, but
Okay.
it's not really gelatin. It's kind of made from starch,
Okay.
and it'll have some like gum flavor and also some pistachios in it.
That's
Excellent.
really good.
Well, thank you so much. You're the first guest who's actually brought something.
Something
So
for us.
I appreciate that.
Let this be a lesson to
Let this
future
be a
guests.
lesson, Mark Jarrell.
And let's thanks Manolo
Stony.
Bakery.
So, our we also want to thank once again our Ponduce host, Manolo's Bakery. I yesterday was the first time I've been in there since they remodeled. It is
Serious?
beautiful.
I couldn't
No.
make it last Wednesday.
No,
It
I
is
need to go.
gorgeous. So Manolo's Bakery, we've got the pink concha for Tara's daughter. Everyone help yourself if you do want some Ponduce. So we're going to get started here. I'm going to put my glasses on, and we want to thank everyone for.
Glasses today.
Yeah, I'm trying not to wear contacts as much because it's been so dry and my eyes have been with Barbara and I have had really bad
Make
allergies.
sure to remove them.
Yes, at night, exactly. So let's talk about the Turkish festival. We have so many wonderful festivals in Charlotte. Many more than I think people actually realize. We've got Puerto Rican festival, we've got the Grito festival, we've got the Irish festival around
We
St.
just
Patrick's.
had Ola Festival
Ola
Sunday.
festival,
We
we've
had two festivals this last weekend. We had the
Pride festival,
India,
Indian festival.
And we
Yeah,
have
and
the
then-
one that Jorge
and
does.
Oh, the Unity one. That was
Unity
2 weekends ago.
Festival,
Yeah.
And all of these festivals celebrate the wonderful, rich diversity of Charlotte, and which I love. And Charlotte is such a diverse city, and it has attracted people from not only all around this country, but all around the world to move here. And so I'm very excited whenever I see these festivals because I always like to go just to see because it's just so it's great. Growing up in Texas, we had a lot of festivals as well, but because Texas is a combination of Czechoslovakian, Native American, African American, Scottish, German.
Actually, we have street in San
Yeah,
Antonio.
huge,
We have the street
a huge
week.
fiesta
It's a whole
in
week.
San Antonio, which is it's world famous. It's probably
Yeah.
bigger than Mardi Gras.
Mhm.
So I was so excited when I saw that, and you contacted me to share the festival, and I had planned on stopping by anyway because I think I went to one last year or the year before. But anyway, tell us about the. I've got the slide. It says the 6th Annual Turkish Festival of Charlotte. It's going to be October the 19th from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Tickets are $5. It's brought to by the American Turkish Association of North Carolina. It's going to be food, music, coffee. Looks like belly dancers and all kinds of wonderful stuff. It looks like there's a kebab. Is that traditional Turkish?
Actually,
one
we're
of
not gonna have kebabs.
Oh,
but
okay.
We're gonna have something called doner.
Okay.
It's kind of like lamb and beef, and
Oh.
it's very fatty a little bit.
Okay.
And it kind of turns around, so it's called doner, which
Okay.
means it spins.
Okay.
So it kind of slowly cooks on its own, and they just cut it.
Okay.
And then they serve it with some bread. And
So
it's on a big spit,
So
upright
yeah,
spit,
like-
right?
Oh, so
and
that's
it's
like
like a big V. If you're looking in, you see this big funnel shaped thing, right?
Oh,
And then they take the knives and they slice
Yes,
off
and
the
it is
sides.
so delicious.
Yeah.
So that's
It is
similar to like
delicious.
anyone who's been to the Greek festival here, which is
Mhm.
huge. So it's similar where you get a ticket or something, you buy that, and then it's like served. Is that right? Wow, that's so. Tell us where it's at, what's going on. Tell us about the Turkish festival.
Sure. It will be at the Oasis Shriners, which is right across from the UNC Charlotte campus.
Oh, okay, excellent.
And it's, I think, exit 45 on 85. So
it's right next to the boardwalk around the little. There's a Sam's right
yeah,
next to
Sam's
it.
Club
Yeah.
nearby.
And it's from 11 to 8. And when can we start
Yes.
eating?
Anytime.
Oh, excellent.
Actually,
Yeah.
mostly like 12.
Okay,
So
so it's gonna be really, really crap. So
So who tell me who the caterers are? Are there Turkish restaurants in Charlotte area that people can go to if they want to eat traditional Turkish cuisine?
Great question, Jeff.
And is it lamb? Do they also serve goat, or what else do they serve?
there's a place called Rapway, and
Yeah.
they actually make Turkish lahmacun, which is kind of like pita bread, and you put ground beef. They put ground beef on it in a different way, and it's really good. And they put like onions and tomatoes and lettuce on it.
excellent.
Similar to a gyro.
No, it's
No.
not gyro. It's kind of ground beef.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So for those,
pita bread, so.
and I have to admit, or I have to full disclosure.
Confess. You have to confess.
When I worked in Washington D.C. at a hotel, my boss was Turkish American, and she was from Ankara. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes.
And I learned, or at least what I thought, about the Turkish community in D.C., which was very wonderfully flourished community like Charlotte. They had so much diversity there. Charlotte has a Turkish community. I did not really know that. I mean, I know we have all kinds of community, but people are live in Charlotte that are that have moved to Charlotte, obviously like everyone else because of the economy and so forth. So can you tell us briefly about the Turkish community here in Charlotte?
Sure. Actually, I am also on the board of American Turkish Association
Oh, okay.
of Charlotte, and every event that we have new members always coming in, and it's always nice to see different families. And some of them actually just came from Turkey, or some of them moved from other states, like New York mostly, and most of them are working in finance in the banks, and so we have a lot. Actually, I'm from Mooresville, and we have a lot of Turkish people moving there too.
Wow.
And there's actually a kind of furniture store in Mooresville. It's called Merino's. It's actually
Turkish owned?
yeah.
Oh, excellent.
And so we have a lot going on in the Charlotte area.
So you would say we have Charlotte has different entrepreneurs that are raising up our economy here. So you want to say not only they are employing the finance, but they are also business owners. Then we can say a pretty big population on Turkish.
Yes, we have several restaurants in Charlotte, and they are managed by Turkish people. And there's a Bira Burger. They just opened. They are owned by Turkish.
Here in Charlotte?
Yes.
Oh, we
I
gotta come
think
and
it's
taste it.
in Matthews.
Oh,
So
Okay.
yeah, I know which one you're talking about. So for those of us who are geographically challenged, everyone except Jeff, of course, Turkey, they're for many years, they're part of NATO, they're a U.S. ally. They are, where are they? Where is Turkey? Geographically.
No. Go ahead.
Weddington, you go this.
Yeah.
Turkey is in between Europe and Asia,
Okay.
basically. And some people would say Eurasia,
Yes, okay.
or some people would say Asia, and some people would say Europe.
Mm.
So
What I remember from my years in Washington, D.C. is the Turkish population, of course, is just as diverse as the American population, but they have a wonderful mixture of Mediterranean influence, Arabic influence, just a lot of wonderful influences in that region. A lot of Western influence, great beaches. I remember the pictures from the beaches that they have there. The Dead Sea is there, is that right?
yes.
In Turkish?
So, you know, it's just a wonderfully, it's a wonderful mixture. It's I don't know if they have Greek influence. I mean, the Ottoman Empire, is that Turkish, or is that, am I
Yes.
getting my...
Ottoman Empire.
Constantinople.
Yeah, so they are
Istanbul.
probably one of the oldest cultures, so to speak, in the world, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if I'm getting my...
Constantinople.
I feel like we need a history
Well,
teacher every time.
Constantinople was, you know, the capital of Rome for a long time,
And then it was separate.
and then it, I mean, it was the Eastern European or the Eastern Roman Empire that eventually turned into
Yeah.
the Ottoman Empire or the Ottoman Turks,
That's right.
and that civilization was around all the way up till World War One.
That's right.
And they, in fact, they fought, I think, against us in World War One.
That's true.
And were allies of Germany in the First World War, and they were allies of us in the Second World War.
See, we don't need no historian.
And Turkey
Yeah,
we
we-
is
yeah.
also
we-
referred to a
God.
lot of times as Asia Minor, the little landmass. So it does very much bridge the cultures. You have a lot of different ethnic cultures that make up Turkey. You know, you have some Armenians, you have the Kurds, you have almost 15 million Kurds that live in
Ukrainians.
Turkey.
Mhm.
Ukrainians, it's a very diverse population.
That's-
It's not
yeah.
just
Yeah.
the original Turks.
Mhm.
It's, even though they make up the bulk of the country, it's got a nice mixture of peoples, you know.
And it is predominantly, I mean, the government, the leadership has
Mhm.
been predominantly secular for a
Mhm.
long time.
Yes.
For a century now, over a century.
Now, what's
from
the
From the
purpose?
time of Ataturk.
Now, what's the purpose of, like Kristen mentioned earlier, we've had, in this past month, beginning in September, we kind of celebrate here in Charlotte our Heritage Month, which is the diverse.
Hispanic heritage,
Yes. So we've had several festivals. And our point are our festivals are to bring in people to get our culture and kind of keep connected. This is the first year that I've learned about the Turkish festival. What is the purpose of it, or why is it certain just small groups know about it and not broadly into the Charlotte area?
Well, this is the sixth annual one, right? So
Yes.
you've had this 6 years. So I guess what she, if I'm understanding your question correctly, the festival is not only there to celebrate the Turkish heritage, the Turkish culture, but also maybe educate people. Is that what it is about the
Is
Turkish
it open
culture?
to the public, or is
it's
it just for
open to
the?
everybody?
Okay,
Excellent.
So anybody can join.
so we can learn and pick up more about your culture
Yes,
and all that.
and it's
Okay.
open to anybody. Anybody can be a vendor in the festival and talk about their organization, and
Okay.
we're open to everybody. So
Awesome.
anyone who wants to try the food, and also for vegans, we have a cooking class. It's lentil balls actually that we have. So
There you go.
my
Awesome.
mother will be making the cooking demo.
Oh wow, excellent.
It'll be really
Cool.
good.
Well,
So-
you know, I like I said, I try to attend as many different festivals as I can, even just to go in there and just to see the.
Yeah.
It's just exciting to me to see the different cultures in Charlotte, because, you know, Charlotte doesn't always celebrate diversity. Even though we're a diverse city, we don't always celebrate it. And so I do think that is changing. And one of the wonderful things, I know you know Jennifer Roberts, our former mayor. One of the wonderful things I loved about Mayor Roberts is she celebrated diversity.
She's very
Like,
open to cultures.
She
yes.
is just wonderfully celebrating diversity. And in our wonderful, rich diversity in Charlotte, it is what is driving the growth.
Correct.
So you have all these millennials who live in the South End that are moving here for the banking industry. All the companies that are moving here, BB&T and Sunrise, they want to open up their headquarters here after their merger. And
SunTrust.
SunTrust, that's right, SunTrust. And the reason is because their employees will have a wonderful international city to live, to play, and to work. And that's really what makes us such a valuable city. So it's wonderful to know that there's a Turkish festival and all these wonderful festivals. So tell us again where the festival is and the times and how much it costs. Do you buy those tickets online or do you pay at the door? Is that how that works?
You can, yes, pay at the
Okay.
doors, and at the iFest we actually handed out some stamped turkey, so those get in for free.
Oh, what was IFES?
International Festival.
Oh,
at
okay, all right.
UNC Charlotte.
Okay. Oh, I didn't go to that one.
I didn't know about that one either. Was that at UNCC?
Yeah, they have it every year.
Yeah.
In
we
September.
missed something. I can't believe it. Well, listen, anything else you want to talk about the Turkish
Are
festival?
kids
Well,
allowed?
Kids allowed?
Allowed?
I had one more question. Is the dance schedule, is that published? So we know
Yes,
when
it's
the
on
different, yes.
the Turkish festival website.
Okay.
They posted the program. Actually.
Okay. Good.
Yes, so if you, on Facebook, if you go to Turkish Festival of Charlotte, also they have, what is their website?
www.
CharlotteTurks.org.
CharlotteTurks.org. Now, this is a joke, but don't confuse the Turkish festival with the Young Turks. Anybody know who the Young Turks are?
Yeah.
I do, but I
I
don't think
don't.
anybody else
Yeah,
is.
I-
No one understands.
I'm too young.
The Young Turks is a show that's real popular. It's a webcast show, and
Oh.
they're very progressive. Okay, that was a terrible joke.
Okay.
Anyway,
Uh,
so
What a joke.
if you go to the
Dun,
website
dun,
or
dun.
if you go to Facebook, you will see the program, and it has. This is a. You guys, I don't know if you can see that. This is. It has a map of the Turkish
Kristen,
festival.
you have glasses. We don't.
Yeah, I know this is really small, but it has all the performers throughout the day programs.
So
and
children's
activities.
are allowed, or do they pay the
Yes.
same price? The price is all for everyone, or kids under certain age?
Under 16 are free.
Oh,
It
excellent.
should be.
It should say there.
Oh, I'm gonna get a
yes.
fake ID.
I think
Yeah, because they're gonna believe yours is
not
yours.
16, but something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It doesn't
Not
say
nine.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it doesn't
yeah,
have to say
yeah.
on here, but
Yeah, it doesn't say on that one.
now the $5 ticket gets you into the festival, and then there's a different price for the food.
Yes.
Okay, so $5 ticket gets you into the festival, just like the Greek Fest and all the other festivals, and then
And
the
you buy whatever
and then
you
you
want
buy
to
whatever
taste.
you want. So
All right. Is there like an after party? Is there a special concert? Anything going on after the? Because normally that's what happens
Actually,
at
I
some of the
mean,
festivals.
there will be entertainment like concerts
Throughout
throughout
the day.
Oh, okay.
festival.
so from 11 to 8, there's all
Mm.
kinds of acts and performers that are going to be performing.
Cool.
So it is a wonderful thing. If you don't have plans this weekend, please at least go by and visit the Turkish Festival of Charlotte. It's happening this Saturday from 11 to 8.
Saturday the 19th.
Wonderful food is going to be served. So
Yes, and 20% of the proceeds will go to Children's Alliance,
Oh,
which
okay.
is a nonprofit organization.
Hmm.
And also we will have raffles for a cruise to the Caribbean for
Oh,
2.
wow.
So
There you go. There you go.
Excellent. So if anything,
That'd be good for Grandma.
I need a
Yeah,
cruise.
yeah.
yeah. So anybody else have any questions before we go to our next?
I think we can move
No, it sounds
forward.
exciting.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is.
I mean, I didn't know, and of course, I've only lived here 12 months. I moved here. Actually, this will be my 13th month here, but I didn't know that there was a large or sizable Turkish population here
That's
to
good.
even constitute a festival. You know, because the one thing I did notice when I moved here is I went to a African print thing at the Mint.
Yeah.
You know, there is a lot of diversity here.
Lots of
and-
diversity,
and
yes.
a lot of different ethnic foods and just you see the Hindu center, and you see there's so many
Yeah.
things, and I think it's because of the technology and the banking that's
Yeah.
just drawing people in. You know, you have Microsoft here that employs 2,000 people. You have the banking industry that's real obvious, and it's bringing people from all over the world.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's pretty amazing, and I'm excited for the Turkish festival, just because, I mean, for one, if it's raising money for a kids charity,
Yeah.
that's very, very important, because there is so much inequity in this community,
Correct.
and anything to help the youngest, most vulnerable part of our population, I'm always down for. So,
Very well said,
yeah,
Jenny. It's so great to have you on the show.
yes.
It's just
I'm
wonderful.
I'm just a big ray of sunshine.
You sure are. Ruth wants to say hi to the people that are joining us.
Yes, Janice. We got Mexican donuts. it's called pan dulce. We miss you, Janice. We definitely need to have you sometime
Yes.
here.
Yes.
I know
Yeah.
your health has been preventing you, but we miss you and we love you. Also, Philip Cano, all the way to
hey,
Forward.
Phil, how are you?
Hello.
Yes, yes.
And all the other ones that are watching.
Tully Lacrosse is joining us. She said good morning. And,
Hey, good morning, Coffee
yes.
and Pan Dulce. Thank you for joining us. That's
Lenny Richardson, Tara Long, of course, who's not feeling well, but she's
Yes.
watching us. And Tara,
Hey, Alba.
yeah, oh yes,
Alba Shubagar,
Yeah.
Miriam, Mayra.
Yes.
Hello, how are y'all?
So,
Thank you for joining
yeah,
us.
everyone, thank you for joining
And
us.
share our
Please
videos.
share the show, and we're going to move to our next topic, which is going to be arts funding. I'm not sure how we've talked about it kind of briefly on the last show, but before we, I'm going to wait. But before we talk
Move
about
forward.
that, I want to thank Tara Long and all of the people that she gathered together, the coalition of people who are against wage garnishments, who spoke yesterday at the Board of Elections last night. And also we were there on the 1st, October 1st, and we have vowed to go as many meetings as we need to until they actually say they are against wage garnishments. We know there are several commissioners who have said that they are against wage garnishments. There's several others that have not fully committed to it or offered any options. And so I want to thank, there were some really good speakers last night during the public forum speaking. Dr. Sachs from Healthcare Justice. We had an attorney who spoke about personal experiences, another person who is an advocate for children's causes. We had a gentleman from our Indian community who spoke about how we all need to work together and remember the marginalized people and so forth. So it was a really good mixture of people, and it was very respectfully how they spoke.
Awesome.
I was a little bit disappointed on one of the county commissioners, who I won't mention that person's name, who I'm a huge fan of, who during all of there were about 8 speakers, didn't look at them but maybe once.
Wow.
And I think it was, and I think people who were there and people who were watching it will know which one I was spoken. But there's one thing to be for a cause or whatever, but to blatantly just kind of ignore what people are saying.
You don't deserve to be sitting on that chair then.
Well, I think it was, I don't know.
Remember, we vote for public servants.
But the person was on their phone or acting like they were on their phone and didn't look at anybody once. It was doing like the faces, like,
See, actions speak more than words.
And I think that was unfortunate. So I hope that person, I don't know if the person watches the show, but if they do, or if anyone knows that person, they will.
If I get the name, I'll tag them on the show.
Yeah, well, but the person, and it's really unfortunate because that person does so much good in the community, and I hate for people like that to get their damaged because of they just don't agree with one particular thing.
It's a tough job being a politician, and you do have to suffer a lot of fools. Let's face it. So if they thought that they were being, what's the word I'm looking for? Bullshitted, or
not challenged.
And
But that was,
and that the arguments and testimonies and stuff were feeble and not very interesting and not very pointed.
That was so interesting.
I might sit on my phone too.
But that was so interesting. On October 1st, the speakers, and I was one of those speakers, we were a lot more passionate.
Mm-hmm.
And even to the point where that person and another county commissioner kind of got their feelings hurt and said, don't demonize or whatever, us and medic or whatever.
Yeah.
And these people were professionals, a doctor, attorney, advocate. They were very calm on how they spoke and very respectful.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a different vibe, and they were still ignored.
And
so
I've been involved with the chat group that organized that, because we've been discussing this for weeks, organized by Tara. And one of the things that we talked about is the accountability. You know,
Yeah.
before you slap because once you create a method of garnishing somebody's wage,
Yeah.
that's never going away.
Yeah.
As we know, with all government taxes and garnishments and things like that, once you open up Pandora's box, so to speak, politicians tend not to reverse their decisions because it makes them look like, oh, well, why did you do it in the first place? And there's more questions. But I think one of the things that I have a problem with is the fact that the board has not kept cost containment with Medic. That they haven't really. There's no transparency. There is no accountability, and the charge that they charge at $1,200 a ride is way above the national average, and it's above what Medicare will pay. So a lot of people don't know this, but the average Medicare payout is between $350 and $450 nationally, and usually nationally it averages about $7 a mile to transport a patient is how they figure it. And that number is way up that unless we're picking up people from Chicago. We should not be spending $1,200 a ride because the crew itself is a two-person crew that the average call is about 2 hours and they're making about $22 to $25 an hour.
So we're talking about 150.
So you're talking maybe $100 in labor to $150 in labor tops. Well, I've been in business a long time.
So the market is
to me. You're talking about 5 times or 6 times labor. And normally labor is the bulk of any product or service. So it's super suspicious on where this money's going, considering the county also supplements this program too, at the tune of almost $13 million.
Well, you know,
there's a mystery where all these tens of millions of dollars are going.
And you got to keep in mind that, you know, when you ask that question, we have folks working or holding a position, sitting on a chair, not doing anything, and getting paid high top dollars for their position.
Well, I think that's what a lot of people, and I'm one of those persons who are encouraging the board, the county commission board, to look at alternatives instead of the current model they have, where they subcontract out the ambulance service to Medic. And so Medic is a quasi-government group and we're trying to get them to look at other options, like what other counties and other cities are doing. And what they've done is ambulance services is just like fire and police. It's a necessity. And
it's asset from the government.
And it's financed by the taxpayers. So that way, if you get into a car wreck or whatever, the emergency services are provided. Now, if you have to go have a surgery and you have a scheduled ambulance, then you pay for it. But if it's an emergency, and one of the things that the Dr. Sachs and some of the other people said was that there are people who, because of they know that how expensive it is to call an ambulance, will be cautious about calling the ambulance. And if they're like my family that grew up, who were not incredibly wealthy, financially wealthy, you always had someone who could take you. You would call a family member to take you to the hospital for you in an ambulance. And when you're in the process of having a heart attack or a stroke, or those seconds count, and you can't be worried about, oh my God, am I going to get hit by it? Very expensive. My insurance going to pay for this, or what's my deductible? Or those are things you should not worry about.
Some small towns don't even have fees for emergency access.
Exactly. And
I remember Matthews never charged me when I called for my mother. They don't charge. Some of these small little towns don't. Why do we want to garnish, their wage here?
Well, I think the consensus is the people that, and especially now that this is getting more attention, and especially since people who live in Charlotte aren't from Charlotte, we're bringing the life experiences from where we came from. And we can put our input and say, Charlotte and Mecklenburg County, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just look at what other cities are doing.
Correct.
And I hope that our county commission will do that. So I have a lot of faith in our county commission because they're all Democrats. And I think there's what I mean
real
is,
Democrats.
No, but I have a lot of faith. And speaking of our county commission, there is early voting did start today. And I will start putting my campaign signs out in my yard for the people that I'm supporting or my family supporting, and everyone please early vote. Or if you are like me and wait till election day, it's a tradition in my family. There's also on the ballot is the 25-cent initiative to fund the arts, parks, and education.
Oh, we need that.
And so there's a meeting tonight, and there's also another one on the 28th, I believe. And it is Susan Harden, Commissioner Susan Harden, who is my commissioner actually, who's for passing this initiative. And then there's Pat Coffin, Commissioner Pat Coffin, and Matthew Ridenhour, who are against it. And they will. So if you need information on that, please go to one of those. But I can tell you, they are advertising like crazy to get this passed, which always concerns me. And I know we talked about this. We're getting these big flyers to vote for it. And it always concerns me whenever a group is advertising like crazy to pass something, because my skepticism says,
you're calling my attention for some reason.
What's in it for you?
Yep.
Follow the money.
Yes, follow the money. Who's profiting from this? And my big concern about this is the money that is being spent. It's given the impression that the money is really for parks. But the majority of the money, 40-something%, is going to the arts.
Correct.
And my concern is, as a person who lives in Charlotte, if you turn on any public access station, whether it's PBS or UNC or Charlotte station, there's no one that looks like me on public television.
Yeah.
It's all old white men and a couple of white ladies cooking. There's no one that looks like me. If you go to most of the theater, and you know this because you're a cultured guy,
I'm a culture guy.
there's not a lot of shows.
He can at least spell culture.
There's not a lot of shows.
Culture.
There's not a lot of shows that are about my life or about my family. And so I'm concerned, why do I want to vote for something that's publicly funded unless they assure me that we will have Latinx shows, Turkish shows, that it will represent what our children look like here in Charlotte instead of the Levine family or the other Myers Park families that traditionally fund the arts.
The rich elite. I mean,
yes, that's kind of what I'm saying.
Let's just say it. I mean, this is a tax, or at least 40% of this tax, this 25-cent tax, is going to go to funding stuff that the rich elite participate in, but the regular people don't. They're not going to be having, like rich politicians like Jeff, and it's a money grab so that they don't have to pay as much for the arts.
That's what it seems.
It should be privately funded. I'm against funding the arts with public money, and there's a reason why. I think we have too many pressing needs. I think we have transportation needs when you have to wait 45 minutes to an hour. Like I would like to see the funding shift away from the arts. The parks is great. We need green spaces for the lower socioeconomic deals where you can meet, have fun, enjoy nature. I don't have an issue with that. I do have a problem funding something for the top 1%. Yeah, they can fund their own things. The Levine family, all that can fund all their own. Because it's typically going to be stuff like the symphony and the opera, and they're not really engaging with the schools.
The real community.
Yeah, with and like you said, it's all going to look like the same people, and you're not funding. There's not a push for diversity or equity into the community. So it's who's that money going to go to? What's that going to look like? Because that's a very generic deal. Yeah. And when you say arts, is it going to go to recruit a bunch of elitist, musical artists? But yet they're not going to encourage the diversity in entertainment, and the arts performing arts is a very broad deal, and I am for boosting performing arts in the schools. Yeah. But that's more of a CMS thing. Exactly. And this money's not going to CMS.
So there's a small percentage that's going to what they call education, which they said they're going to educate kids on the arts and stuff. So what I'm saying is that it would have been nicer to have
specifics
on the ballot. Do you want money, taxes to go to education? Yes, no. Do you want money to go to parks? Yes, no. Do you want money to go
okay,
to
yeah.
arts? It would be different if you had 3 different options that have put, because as we talked with Tara the last show, when this passes, we're not even guaranteed that it will be divided. They could decide we want all the money to go to arts and nothing to go to parks and education.
Seems like a big old slush fund to me.
That's what it sounds like. So I am concerned.
I mean, they could target it if it was a bond fund.
Yes.
Right.
So why can we demand more specific on those ballots? Like,
Well,
why can't
that's what I think these information meetings that they're having. You need to ask your county commissioner where you stand on this. I can tell you that it does look, and this is about perception of our county commissioner. They're all Democrats, but it does look suspicious when the 2 people who are pushing this the hardest are from South Charlotte and from North Mecklenburg County, and they're white. The people of color are not the ones championing this. And if you want something that everyone is paying for, you need to win them over also. And that concerns me when it's about messaging, when the face of this looks like it's only going to benefit people who live in my neighborhood or people who live in Morrisville. But first of all, I don't even think it'll benefit people who live in Morrisville or Davidson or whatever, because none of them are going to truck all the way down to Charlotte to go see an opera.
All this money
If they do, they do already.
Well, they do, because I mean,
Yeah,
even
but
though Morrisville, they don't really have what we have here.
But
in
if they
Charlotte.
do, they already do it.
Oh,
They're not suddenly going to wake up and go, oh, now that we've got public funding,
my
let's go to the
sister
opera.
is a dancer, so I'm.
Well,
I have a different opinion.
Well,
but-
tell us your opinion.
My sister's a dancer too, by the way. So,
Okay.
and she's danced in
So do
Turkey
you support
before.
this? I mean, I assume you do support the 25 cents.
I haven't read up on it.
Okay.
as much.
Well, and that's kind of what I think we want people to do is educate themselves on this, and you make a decision on your own what you're gonna, if you're gonna vote for it or against it. There very rarely do things not pass in Mecklenburg County and Charlotte because people just kind of just agree, they just vote for it.
Well, it sounds good. I mean,
sounds
you say,
good.
oh, you support the
Yeah.
arts and the parks, and they got pictures of kids playing and all this. It sounds so
Appealing.
innocuous. It's
Yes.
just like there's no threat. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you're against parks and the arts.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of jerk are you?
Exactly.
You know. And I'm like, what I don't want to create is this. Maybe a little bit of the libertarian in me is creating a slush fund that politicians can dip into
Yeah.
without specific verbiage,
Yeah.
putting a
Where
governor
it's going.
on where this money is going and how it's going to be spent. And I wonder how many details are actually in the proposed legislation
Yeah.
and all this, or if it's
Charlotte.
very, very, very general. You know, like,
Yeah.
oh, well, we're
I
going to do it
figured it was
this,
her.
and this is proposed. But I would love to see the actual ordinance in. Because I'm assuming there is
Yeah.
verbiage to this on metering out what this looks
It is,
like.
and the county
And
commission.
it's specific.
Yeah, and the county commission did vote on how they were going to break it down.
Right.
And to Commissioner Leake's credit, she questioned. It's not in writing that says this will go to young black kids. This will go, and what was told was, but we're gonna do it. And she said, you don't understand. Unless it's in writing, you can do whatever you want to.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yes,
is I,
exactly.
It's,
Yeah.
I smell
So-
something rotten
So
here.
what they're saying
Yeah.
is, trust me.
Yeah.
We trust, and
It's
I
like,
do
it sounds
trust
like
our
bless
county.
your
Trust,
heart.
trust but verify. Trust but
It
verify.
does. It sounds like bless your heart.
It is. But more importantly, well, you know, my family, we don't know how we're going to vote on this yet because I want to.
Now,
find out
keep
more
in
information.
mind, you
I tend to be
are
against it.
you're always against some of the stuff that are going on in the South Charlotte area, but we live in the South side.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we see it, and I guess that's what we speak more about it.
Yes.
We would love to hear more about our East and West residents, how they feel about what's going on right now. Because, you know, that is very, even though there might be 2 or 3 that are in pro of this thing, all the other commissioners are also for the entire city.
Yeah.
So we definitely need to hear from them as well.
Well, I'm a big fan of the arts, but I do think that if you don't have specifics, when we have so many other pressing needs, I mean, it's a twofold concern of mine. One, that we have needs in this county and in this city that are significant in transportation, equitable transportation, other than the light rail, and is incumbent upon our city and county to make it work. I mean, we have
We
too
need
many
more
people,
bus stops.
Well, we need more buses. I
Yeah.
mean, the thing is, if you're having to sit 45 minutes to an hour each way, that's a broke system.
Yeah.
I mean, so arts or more buses. Well, we need more buses right now.
Well, and that a lot of people that are against this, for an example, there's a coalition of people who, first of all, they're more libertarians. Matthew Ridenhour's leading that group with, I think, Kate Lee.
He's a Republican.
Yes, Republican, but he's an original Tea Party person who just doesn't believe in taxes.
I believe he's more...
A Tea Party member
Republic.
is not a...
Yeah,
is still a Republican.
that's true. And so one of the things that they
But he's
are
helping better
saying
than
is
Democrats.
well, one of the things that they disagree with is that the state has put a limit on what a county can do. 25 cents is the limit. If this passes, they can do nothing else.
Right.
You can't
Until
raise
when?
money for a new stadium. I don't know. There's
Oh,
you can only
Lord.
do it like so many years or whatever. You couldn't raise money for a new stadium. You couldn't raise money. The county, you basically have maxed out on what you can do for the county. So those are questions I
Well,
think
I
that
hope
need
the
answers.
people don't vote for that.
And what you said is that we have a lot of issues. The county takes care of social services and green space,
Park and recreation.
So is this a county initiative?
This
or
is a
Yes,
county
it's a
initiative.
county.
It's a
Okay.
county initiative.
Okay.
So and
And
I
we're planning to go green. How are we going to go green if you put more money into something else instead of bringing into the parks, recreation, transportation?
and
all
if you
this
were really
other.
concerned about teacher pay, maybe all the 25 cents should go all just to
To
teacher
education,
pay.
yeah. Or actually remodeling schools.
Remodeling schools, fixing the lead contamination in the CMS schools that people are concerned about. I think there's a lot of concerns, but I'm interested to hear what they have to say. My county commissioner Susan Harden, I'm interested to hear what she has to say, the for and the people that are against, and I think we all have to make
Susan
decisions.
B. Hart.
Susan B. Harden, that's
But
correct.
doesn't this parallel the same thing as the garnishment, though, is that you have people in office that when they initially push for this, they're elitists. They are looking only in their interest, or whoever is getting them into office, which I wonder how much Medic contributes to political campaigns. That would be an interesting number to see.
Yeah.
In fact, I might research that and bring that up next week.
Cool.
But one of the things I think is suspicious is how inequitable all these proposals are.
Yeah.
How they are not reaching to the far east and the far west of the county. How they're not taking anybody's perspective, but a very, very Southy mentality. And I love the arts.
Yeah.
I love the arts. Do not get me wrong. I love it. But on a list of priorities, it seems like the city or the county has it topsy-turvy. They are not looking at the broader picture. And if we are capped at a 25-cent raise this time, and we can't do this for quite a while, we better make it count. It's like just like being in a street fight. Your first punch better be your best punch. And this seems very, very frivolous. Very, very frivolous in a time of need.
Well, one of the things that I think, to your point, Jenny, is if the east and the west side, the county commissioners that represent those commissioners. I live in South Charlotte. We're all from kind of more the south or part of Charlotte and Mecklenburg County. Our city council person and our county commission person fight for our district. So even though I don't always agree with what they fight for, because I do see the disparity on how it doesn't benefit the rest of the city, you also have to ask people who live in the other city, don't elect people who aren't fighting for you.
Nope.
So if you want someone at the county to fight for your district and fight to get resolutions or things like this passed to increase the beautification of the east side or the west side, then elect county commissioners that are going to fight for you. Instead of county commissioners who just sit there and just vote on things.
You know, that was going to be my next thing, my next point. When you mentioned that right now, sometimes I hear so many plans every single election term. I hear plans that we're going to be doing something in West Charlotte, East Charlotte. I still haven't seen any development down there.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting to see that change. And now we're moving forward to this. Now, oh, let's vote for this. Now this 25 cents will take care of it.
Yeah.
Let me tell y'all, the arts, there's so many nonprofit organizations that can take care of that.
And especially we are a city of enormous wealth.
Yes.
Income inequality is tremendous. You have the wealthy, and the poor.
Mm-hmm.
There are families here in Charlotte that have made a tremendous amount of money on the construction of Charlotte and the building of Charlotte, and continue to make money off of the growth of Charlotte.
So let them fund the arts.
Let them fund the arts.
Yes, I
Let them build a new
1,000% agree.
stadium.
I think the arts. I don't even think the park should be a priority.
Bank
right
of
now.
America, Wells Fargo.
Our priorities are housing.
Tree.
Our priorities are Medicare. Our priority are other things.
One thing that's really suspicious about all this is how poorly Charlotte zoning is too. So, and we talked about this. I was at a campaign thing for Jennifer De La Hara, and we were talking about development. And one of the things that Charlotte does not require from developers is a certain amount of set aside for schools and parks. Amarillo, Texas, a podunk city in northwest Texas where I'm from, that requires that. If you do a development, and it's say 640 acres in total,
you have to
they've got to set aside a certain amount for schools, certain amount for parks, and it cannot be touched. And the reason being is that it forces green belts in educational things, and you don't have to retrofit an area of town,
which is what we do here.
Which is the county and CMS schools is having a problem. Parks is having a problem because they don't know where you can put parks. Then you further gentrify your city or further screw it up. When we should have done it, you always want to do it right the first time. And I think before we start passing things, and one of the reasons I'm against this is there is no real plan with this 25 cents. It is just give me the money,
and then we'll figure it out.
And then we'll figure it out. And I'm like, no. Let's have a cohesive plan of priorities that help the east and the west side of Mecklenburg County.
Well, I would like one of the county commissioners who is supporting this to promise to me, which they can't. If everyone in Mecklenburg County is paying for it, that means Turkish community, German community,
have access to it,
Indian community, Hispanic community, all our diversity, and the country community, all communities, we will be represented diversely. I don't want just one day a year at the Museum of Levine Museum of the New South to have a Latin Mexican exhibit,
right?
And then all the other 364 3 days or whatever, it's business as normal. Or I don't want it to have one black exhibit at the Harvey Gantt Museum, or one. I want it to be every month.
Expose.
I want it to be so that way children
it needs to be transparent.
See what they look like.
And the BOCC needs to be accountable for so many things right now. Is they don't have a cohesive list of priorities. They do not have a plan, so much so that some of the smaller towns in Mecklenburg County want to form their own school boards and own school systems. And that tells you how much equity problems we have when Matthews wants to make a breakaway school district to the point where CMS is not building any more schools in Matthews because there is such a civil war going on. We've got other priorities.
We're running out of time. We got a couple of minutes left before we need to sign off here. But before we do that, let's read our constitutional quote of the week. I believe we made a decision.
Jenny was assigned, right? We delegate Jenny
yes,
earlier.
Jenny, you're going to
have a mind assigned to it?
Yes, I left it open right there. Number
I think
15.
we decided on number 15, which is on page
Amendment 15, 27.
7?
Yeah, which is the X and the V, right?
Yes, that's right.
I think that's 15.
Jenny, please read that.
Okay, Section 1. The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. Section 2. The Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. So it means we should be able to vote.
Not everybody gets to vote, though.
True.
That's true. I mean, some states can decide, for example, the issue of felons.
Yeah, felons can vote.
There's two states where
Florida.
people in jail can vote.
Yeah.
Well, while they're in jail,
While
but if
they're
you're a
in jail,
convicted felon, it's out in the streets, can't vote.
In this state.
in
In
some
this state.
in some states you can.
Yeah.
I
And so
think-
that
In our state, we
yeah,
can't.
yeah. There is a movement to get people who've paid their time and done their justice to society, that we should be able to bring them back into society. They should have the right to vote, because how can you pay taxes and not have the right on who you elect?
Yeah.
And I think that is.
I got these questions during the campaign,
Yeah.
and I got a lot of flack from the conservative snowflakes who
Sure.
didn't like the fact that I advocated for people behind bars to be able to vote, to expand the voting franchise. I mean, I've got
You liberal.
well, you know, I've got different ideas about what democracy is,
Yeah.
but I see no reason to take away voting franchise from people who are in jail for committing crimes because they're the ones that have interacted with the state,
Because
and they might
exactly.
have a very good approach to
Reason,
voting.
yeah.
because
very unique
it tends
perspective.
Yes.
because it tends to disproportionately impact young people of color who maybe get arrested for a little joint.
That's what I was
and
gonna tell
their
you.
life is
That's
ruined
right.
forever.
Their life is
And it
ruined.
it
They're
does.
become felon, and
Or
now
a
they
poor
can't
person
vote.
who can't afford car insurance, or
Yeah.
who can't afford
That's
can't
right.
afford a broken light on their car, but
Mhm.
We
live
know
in a city where there's not public transportation. These are people who people like us who have 3 cars.
Yeah.
Doesn't affect us,
No,
but usually
but they
other
do.
people it really impacts, and that's
Yeah.
unfortunate.
Yeah.
And then once it, like wage garnishments, once you're down in the gutter and people keep kicking you, it's so hard to get out.
Yeah.
So speaking of snowflakes, there was I'm not even going to talk about this. I don't even want to give it credence. We've had such a great show. I want to thank everyone for joining us. Please go to the Turkish Festival of Charlotte. If
This
anything,
Saturday.
try the food. I'm all about the food. I would really like, and I hope,
And the dance.
and the dance. I would.
Belly dance.
I
Swirling
wish.
dervish.
I wish that, and I know we will. I wish that someone like Jennifer Roberts, who has so much influence on our city, and Jennifer Roberts has a foot in the old Charlotte and the new progressive Charlotte. So she has a foot with the old Charlotte money, the Levines, the Erskine Bowles, all of the old the families that sold the Panthers for $1 billion. She knows them, but she also
She
is.
gotta come to our show.
Yes, she also knows the new Charlotte. She's very engaged in our Latinx community and all the communities, and she speaks Spanish. I wish that she would.
And she has lived in a different cultural.
Yes.
So she knows different cultures.
I wish that we could have a festival that is at the scale of Pride, like Pride is. Pride is one of our second largest festivals in Charlotte. That is, I know we have a Unity Festival, but I wish we had a huge festival in Uptown or even South End where they close the streets down, where it celebrates all the different diversities, and every day or every hour there's a Turkish hour, there's a German hour.
That's what San
attended.
Antonio does.
Yeah.
So San Antonio's Fiesta
Yes.
is
Fiesta
more
week.
than it's
Fiesta
more than
week.
just in downtown. There's
Yeah.
180 events over 9 days
Yeah.
celebrating every square inch. Like they have a University of Texas San Antonio campus Northwest. They'll have an oyster festival up there.
Yes,
They'll have
I've
arts.
been to that actually.
Yeah, it's really, and they have a deal
this
in
is-
And that's my town.
And we're running out of time, but the reason I'm saying that, because it would be wonderful for people to be able to try some Greek
Well,
food,
you know who
some
started
Turkish food,
that
some
initiative?
Mexican food.
Here, and it hasn't been that big. I attended to that. Queen's University had a Run the World Festival.
Yeah. So we
And they
need
had
something
different,
like
and
that.
it was just that night. It was beautiful, but I've learned so much that night.
So I wish
Different.
I wish the brains behind Pride, because there's some brilliant people who have developed Pride to be what they are, to have all the corporate sponsors, all the banks and the finances. It's big money.
We should
in
celebrate
Pride.
on welcoming week. We
Yeah,
we always do
something,
it every
something
year.
like that, where it is actually a big festival. We celebrate NASCAR. We can
Yeah.
celebrate everything on how unique, bluegrass music. Everything that's so unique about Charlotte. Bluegrass started in the mountains here in North Carolina and Tennessee. Country music, know, and so anyway, I really wish that, like I said, mainly because you can eat food at every single place.
Oh yeah.
So
Usually
we're
some
gonna
food in there.
end, and We're going to go around and tell us where you're going to be this weekend. And I want to thank everyone for joining us and those who joined us today and who are going to be joining us later. So, Alexa, play Pandora. Alexa,
Mariachi
Alexa, play Pandora.
Radio.
All right, Jenny, you want to start?
Well, I guess now we're going to the Turkish festival. Now that I found out about this wonderful celebration, I will be going to a private event on Saturday night that probably isn't for mass consumption to talk about. And then we have the state conference for the National Organization of Women on November 9th coming up. So I'm super excited about that. First time Charlotte's hosted it in 10 years.
Wow.
Thanks to Melba.
Yay, Melba.
Mama
Ruth will be enjoying her grandbaby. She'll be 3 weeks old, so I ain't got no plans for the weekend to be out. I prefer not to be out right now.
So,
don't blame you.
So for those who didn't understand what Ruth is talking about, Mama Ruth has 5 boys. So this is the first girl in their family. And so she's so excited.
And 2 grandboys.
And 2 grandboys. All right.
Yep.
Mr. Jeff.
I will be in Raleigh on Thursday and Friday because of the state fair, and every year the Libertarian Party has a booth, has a table there, and there's usually 2 people working all day from 9 or 10 in the morning to 9 or 10 at night, and so I've volunteered to work several shifts there, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of MAGA people there, a lot of red hat people there. So if I come back all bruised and broken, you'll know that I got into some bad fights where I threw a good punch, but I couldn't survive.
I can't see no fight on camera.
And our guest, where are you going to be this weekend? Well, I think we know where we're going to be, but anything else?
I will be working at the Turkish festival on Saturday, and then Sunday I will be seeing my friend. She just had a baby.
Oh, wonderful.
Awesome.
Babies everywhere.
Well, I'll be watching football. I'll be stopping by the Turkish festival and enjoying the beautiful weather, and hopefully we'll start to see leaves change. So,
Yay.
anything else?
That's it.
Everyone say bye.
Bye.